Well, welcome back, everybody. Yes, it's hard to believe, but it is another edition of New Guitar Day. Before we start, we want to point out that once again, Amazon's stupidity, giant box. This one comes with a secret flap, and as you can tell when you look in there, there's that small guitar box, and of course, absolutely, once again, no packing material. An Amazon exclusive. But we won't go on about that. For the record, it is Monday, early afternoon. It's April the 29th, 2024. Early spring day. And yes, you might feel like you're in the movie Groundhog Day. This is yet another GearIT electric guitar, the GTL 200 Shortline series. But there is a slight difference. This time I chose a different color. So this is now the fifth of this model. 3 have been sent back. 1 I committed to keeping. Because overall I really do like these guitars. But when they chose an offshore factory, they didn't quite get the instructions right. So these guitars go out with, I wouldn't say serious problems. The seriousness, if you want to call it, is more in line with the idea that the person who's most likely to buy this guitar is going to be a beginner, and they're not going to have the abilities to make the needed adjustments that are required to make these guitars as playable as they could be. So, that is my guess why on Amazon it says this is a frequently returned item for multiple reasons. I'm going to weigh the guitar real quick. I'll be right back. Alright, and this one comes in at 8 pounds even. So, of the ones I've had, I believe the first one I got was 8.2. The second one I got was 7.2. The third one I got was 9.4, which was ridiculous. The fourth one I got, I think, also came in at about 8.4. And again, this is 8 pounds, so this is right at the limit of what I appreciate for a guitar. Again, one of the problems, which I will list in a moment after I just do a quick preliminary investigation. It's got some factory schmutz on it, but I don't see anything that sticks out. Of course, the frettings on this guitar are delicious. The green paint is interesting with the factory schmutz. I don't see any flaws that stick out, just the typical waviness. There's a couple little finish flaws, but nothing that I would consider to be major. So I'm going to just go plug this in and take it for a ride, as they say. The bridge. Action looks reasonable. We'll need a little bit of adjustment on the saddles. So yeah, I'm just going to go plug it in, stretch out the strings, give it a tune, and we will be back for further commentary. Okay, so welcome back again. It is April the 29th, 2024. It's now about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I've played this guitar for about 45 minutes, and here's my observations. It may be because of the color of this guitar that it's more noticeable than it is on the Sunburst, but the binding on this guitar does not seem to be as put together as well. There's a couple of cosmetic issues, but again, playability and tone are the things that matter most to me. This guitar does not seem to suffer from, if we go down the list now, I've had 5 of these. The first one I had an absolute insane issue in the middle position. Out of phase, bad ground, whatever, it sounded horrible. This was early on. No one had discussed switching wires. I didn't know what the problem was. I put it in the box and I sent it back. Whoosh! So then number 2, number 3, and number 4 did not seem to suffer from what you would be called a phasing issue, but what they do suffer from is an issue with the tone control. If you have it all the way off, it sounds muted, like there's, the tone control's all the way off. If you turn it just a touch forward, you get some nice highs. If you go any further than that, it gets harsh and funky, and so as long as you just are willing to live in that very small zone, it sounds fine. Of the 5 guitars, this came out of the box absolutely playable. There's no buzzing or rattles on the bridge. That could change. Some people have said that with a little bit of time, the bridge pushing down strips out the grub screw and it just falls, and then you need new saddles. As of this moment, no problem there at all. The P90 on this one is pushed down further than the other one. I still like the sound. I'll bet it would sound a little better pushed up, so at some point in time I will pull the P90 out, put some foam behind it, and lift it a touch. I lowered the humbucker because, according to a few people that have tested it, it's a pretty hot humbucker, so I like to drop it down in. The only adjustment that I've made thus far, and I can say this about the 5 guitars that have passed through my hands, the people at GearIT just twist that truss rod. These things come with a lot of back bow on the neck. So much so that you have to completely loosen the truss rod from the back bow position. It's a dual action truss rod, and then you have to crank it this way to pull the neck up. So it's going to sit in that zone for a while, and then maybe at some point in time I'll pull it back down. But anyways, I've got it now with just the right amount of relief, so that sounds good. The nut seems to be cut fine. All the cowboy chords ring out nice. There's, and that's how I judge how well a nut is cut, is just by I do the notes down next to the nut. Sound in tune. Guitar seems to be intonated just fine. I did weigh it again, so I guess the little cover here and the piece of styrofoam added 2 ounces, so it now comes in at 7.8. So it's below 8 pounds, which is pleasing to me. Again, it's still relatively heavy for a thin line, but as I pointed out in my this thin line, this is all solid right here. It's obviously there's a block in the middle going all the way down, so I'm guessing, I can't feel it, but I'm guessing that it's hollow right here, up to here, and the rest is solid. They claim this is an ash body. The guy at Scar My Guitars, which by the way, he's quite the character, very interesting. Enjoy his videos very much. He just gets right to the heart of it. He seems to think these are potentially made out of red oak. He held up a piece of red oak, and the color and the grain pattern matched perfectly. So again, I don't know what it's made of. Someday I'm going to write an article titled, How, quote unquote, Would You Know, with wood, W-O-O-D, because how are you going to know? Are there people that can analyze wood, that can take a chip off of it and do a DNA sequence on it? I don't know. But it's made out of wood. He commented, like other people did, that the top is plywood, but that's nothing to be concerned about because very, very, very expensive archtop guitars, other than the ultra expensive that are carved, all the Gibson ES335s and 330s and 220s, and they're all plywood bodies. They're 3-ply. So that's not an issue. It would have been a nice extra touch if they would have put binding in the F-hole. At some point I might just take a Sharpie and just black it out. That might be a mistake. I don't know. I don't really care. I don't look down there. The fit and the finish, there's a bit of a gap here and a bit of a gap down here, but my philosophy on that is most people cannot stand neck pocket cracks. And there was a guy, I forgot what his username was. I believe he was on the Telecaster forum. But he pointed out rightfully that everyone wants this tight neck in the pocket. Well, if there's any difference in the wood and there's an expansion, you get a neck pocket crack. So it seems like a little bit of space would be the right thing to avoid that. And I personally, in my experience, don't think it makes any difference at all as far as transmission of vibrations down the neck. And, some people may know more than I do. In fact, I'm certain that there are many people that know much more than I do. But in my limited experience, no difference. Just like I don't really see that set neck guitars have more sustain than a bolt neck guitar. I mean, theoretically, I could pull the screws out of this thing and put glue in there. I don't see any difference. And I can tell you this, that all 5 of these guitars that I have, they sustain like a mojo. I mean, you hit a good power chord on this thing and it just rings. So it's got good sustain. So overall, I am very, very, very pleased out of the box. Unless something dramatic happens, and I can't imagine what that would be, I'm definitely going to keep this guitar. At some point in time, I'll probably sell one of them. I don't know which. I've often talked about color. I don't think I would ever buy a Les Paul or an ES guitar in this color. This seems to be very well matched for Fender style guitars, the California, Sun, Surf Green, Telecasters and Strats. I don't think I'd really want to P-base this color. Again, you close your eyes, it doesn't matter what color it is. But for a Telecaster, this color is just a nice, in the land of wishes, I wish they would have done a couple shades darker on the binding, because it does get really just washed out. But again, all cosmetic, all superficial. One guy mentioned that he thought his bridge was crooked. His bridge might be a little crooked, but I don't care. That's what you have adjustable saddles for, to compensate for it. It looks straight, but it's hard to tell. I mean, you're measuring it based on the pick guard and the pickup, and maybe they're a little quirked out. So, again, as we began, we're going to end. This is the GearIT, the GTL 200 Shoreline series. What prompted me to buy this, again, I am a member of the I Love Cheap Guitar Club. I think when these originally started out, I think if you go on GearIT's website, the original price they wanted for these guitars was in the $180, maybe $200. On Amazon, they brought them down to the $100 range, and then they'd go on sale. And I had a $10 credit, and so I got this for $60, which, wow, how could I say no? And again, I don't like to take advantage or to misuse or abuse Amazon's generous return policy. I don't return guitars because I don't like them. If I don't like it, I eat it and I sell it or live with it. I only return them when there's an issue. And I have learned something. If Amazon ships it and Amazon sells it, then they can negotiate with you if they want to, and they don't always want to, but they can, and they can do a price adjustment. If it's shipped by Amazon but sold by a third-party company, Amazon's hands are tied, according to them, and they can't make any adjustments on the price. At this price, even if there was like a major issue, if it was an issue that I couldn't solve, again, I would just send the guitar back. But again, I would not abuse their policy by sending guitars back just because I didn't like the guitar. But it just so happens that I do like this guitar. And again, I will not post this for probably another week just because I want to play this guitar some more and make sure that that it's as nice as my first impression. It's funny how light is. Looking through my camera, this looks like it's more of a Daphne blue, but it's clearly a surf green. Let's see if we move it. Yeah, see right here, you get there it is. It's surf green right there, but you move it over here, and you set it down, and it gets lighter, it gets more washed out. It looks more like a blue. But trust me, surf green, we'll come over here. It's a nice surf green. It's not like seafoam green, which is really dramatic. And of course, the thing that has been absolutely very consistent on all 5 of these guitars, not only the fretwork is just dreamy, it's the future of all guitars. All guitars should have ball end on the frets. No work needed whatsoever. And I have not encountered a guitar thus far that's had any high frets. Again, I don't have a straight edge to measure it, but just based on playability, I feel nothing that's just, yeah. The tuners on this one seem to be the best of all 5. They're not great tuners, but the guitar is very stable. Once you stretch the strings out a couple times and tune it up, it stays in tune really nice, and that's a nice feature for a guitar. So anyways, spring is here, even though they say it may snow on Thursday, but it is Montana, and Montana is known for snow in April, sometimes snow in May, maybe snow in June, I don't know. But anyways, thank you for joining me. For the time being, I think there will be a lull in the new guitar days. I do have a guitar that's been on back order at Amazon for over 4 months, and I'm sort of in a conversation with them right now and IYB about why it takes so long, and they're pointing fingers at each other, so hopefully we can resolve that issue. But yeah, I just really pretty much have got every guitar that I ever hoped for, dreamed of, or wanted. That doesn't mean something new won't pop up, because they do. They pop up. This guitar was a surprise. I didn't gear it. I didn't know what the hell a GearIT was. And it started with the Les Pauls going for $65. And I almost pulled the trigger on one of their Strats, but I've got 4 bullet Strats, which may surprise you. I've had Fenders. Yeah, I've had upper level classic vibes, and I like my bullets the best. So there was no need to get a Strat. Anyways, I don't want to blather too long, so we'll be back in about a week for a conclusion. Thank you very much. Welcome back, everybody. I'm back a little sooner than expected. It is now May the 2nd, 2024. I got this guitar on Monday, April the 29th, so I've had this guitar in my hands now for 4 days. And it's going back. And the reason why it's going back is multiple issues. This guitar does suffer, like the other ones apparently, from the wiring issue, the out of phase. If I was more skilled, I would open it up and I would fix that, but then on top of that, there were a couple other issues, most notably that I can't intonate this guitar. And again, I can only do what I can do. Part of the reason why I have the comments turned off on my video, so people can't call me stupid for not figuring it out. The low E and the A string, no matter how far back I pull the saddle, they're still sharp. I probably could go to the extreme measure of either cutting or removing the spring, but I really don't feel like needing to do that. And of the, many guitars that I've had, I've never had an issue with that. And the other GTL 200 that I have in Sunburst is not having that problem, so I don't know if they just didn't move this bridge back far enough. I don't know. But that to me is a deal breaker. And the truss rod on this guitar is still acting sort of weird. I've made multiple adjustments on it, trying to get just just a fair amount of relief. I mean, some people want, 0.10 or 0.8. I'm happy with 0.12. That's like an average expectation for relief. And if I crank the truss rod this way, which would push the neck that way, then there's too much back bow, and then when I go into the negative or the neutral position, and then because it's a dual action truss rod, to bring the neck this way, it goes too much and I have too much relief and I can't quite get the sweet spot. So I contacted the folks at GearIT and said, what do you think? And oddly enough, they blamed Amazon. They said that Amazon sent me a bad guitar, and I'm thinking, well, this guitar was factory sealed from your factory or wherever it was made, so Amazon had nothing to do with it. So that was sort of an odd, let's throw Amazon in front of the bus, which I guess that's what people do. But their only suggestion was to return it for a refund or exchange it. Well, this is going to be the 5th guitar that I've bought. 3 of them have gone back. 1 was exchanged for a return, and I kept the Sunburst. So I think I'm going to roll the dice one more time if Amazon's willing to play along. I'm guessing that GearIT pays for the return shipping, so I don't think Amazon has anything to lose by it. And since I have an email from GearIT saying, here's your choices, send it back for a refund or exchange it, I think I'm going to exchange it. Because again, at this point, this guitar cost me $60. There's nothing out there that even comes close to this guitar for $60. And I don't mind fixing the things that I can fix. I even ordered a solder gun because I'm going to open up the guts of the other one and see if I can do the wiring reversal to get rid of the phase or out of phase condition. But I don't know what to do about the saddles on the bridge. And it's sharp enough to where I'm not sure that even taking the spring out is going to allow enough movement. So I'm tending to think that the bridge was just not positioned correctly. But anyways, that's the follow-up on this. So this is number 5. This is the first surf green one that I got. And overall, it's a nice guitar. It has a few minor cosmetic things that the average person probably wouldn't bother. I thought they could have done a better job. You can't see it on the camera. But the binding here just doesn't look like it was really, like someone really did a nice job. Is that a big deal? No. I live by a simple motto: if the cosmetic defect is somewhere where I can't see it when I'm playing, I'll live with it. And that I can't see that when I'm playing. So that's something that I would have been happy to live if there hadn't been this issue. And one other strange thing about this guitar, I have no idea. I haven't detuned it for travel, but let's just tune it up here and see if you can hear this. Well, you can't. The tuners, for lack of a better word, they crack. And the reason why I say crack is my knuckles don't even crack anymore. Well, it sounds like a knuckle cracking. When you tune up to pitch and you go a little above and you tune back down so that you can tune back up again, there's like a popping sound on 2 of the tuners. And I've had that on a couple other of these GearIT guitars, the Telecasters. The Les Paul that I have doesn't do that at all. So again, I understand cheap components. I'm not expecting, Fender custom shop. It stays in tune quite well, actually. Yeah, I just think they dropped the ball with quality control. I think that these guitars should have been in the hands of somebody. Then they would have more than likely caught the issue with the pickups being wired backwards. Someone probably just either misread the schematic or someone put a bad schematic out. Anyways, so I'm going to go online and contact Amazon and request a replacement and see what they say. So if I come back, it'll be because I got another guitar. If they tell me no, you're abusing our policy, then I won't be back. But either way, overall, again, I'm quite impressed with this guitar, despite the fact that it has a few issues. And again, for people who are skilled and adventurous, these may not be a big deal whatsoever, but I'm not very skilled and I'm not very adventurous. So I like guitars to be somewhat playable out of the box, and intonation is critical to a good playing experience. I think you probably agree with that. So we'll be back when we'll be back. By the way, again, I mentioned May the 2nd, 2024. It snowed this morning. It was a wet snow, so nothing stuck on the ground. But yeah, it's still getting some snow in Montana, which is not unusual for May. This is springtime in the Rockies, although we're down on the flatlands. But anyways, so I'll be back when I'm back. Till then, take care.